This conference will now be recorded.
All right. So I
Ankit,
had
sorry.
told you guys. Yeah, go ahead, Anand.
Yeah, last week, Friday, you were given some tasks to complete, right? I think you're given 4 tasks. So
Right.
actually, I was able to complete first and second, but the third task you given the find and count number of vowels. I tried,
Correct.
but I could not able to get it. So when you get time after the sessions, can you show me? So I just trying to.
So that's why I gave this task at the end because this is not an easy one. It looks very easy, but it is not an easy one. So do me a favor, Anand. Like I think Sunil also gave it a shot. If you are not able to finish it, that's fine. It happens. So why don't you go ahead and paste the code in the WhatsApp group? And let's see, everybody should take a look at it and maybe somebody can suggest you. And if nobody, then you can, I mean, you can just ping me and I'll help you with it. But it's a classic example of putting almost everything except for dictionary into this one. So I'm happy at least you're trying. So give it a shot, give it one more shot, and let's see what others can also help or not. And then we'll take it from there. All right?
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Sure, no problem. At least I'm happy you're trying. So that's good. All right. So, like I was saying in the beginning of the for loop, I was telling, and each and one of you almost said that, hey, how can we use with the dictionary? So today is what we're going to see how we do for looping in dictionary, and how is it, even if it's possible or not. As you guys thought it is not, you all of you are right, but we'll see how we can do it. So I'm just going to use imaginary names from now on. I mean, not imaginary, but nothing that is not related to us. So don't kill me if you find any John who is less than 45. I'm just going to use Boston. All right. And that is my dictionary, a basic dictionary with 3 elements. And everybody remembers this, I think. How do I print it? I just give the dictionary name, and that's how you print it, right? So now I'm saying if I wanted to go through a for loop, let's say I just wanted to print this. Of course, there's a way to print age and all that stuff, but without using the keys or without using that traditional method, how can we do it? So can I do something like this for dictionary variable in my dictionary? First of all, what will happen if I do this? Anybody can take a guess? So all I'm saying is just the standard way, like we do our for loops in Python for I in dictionary. I'm saying print decvar. Remember we saw the list print out all the elements like this.
Maybe it will print all the values.
Including John, 45, and Boston.
Yeah, it will look like a set.
Okay, I got a good answer. I mean, a very interesting answer. It will print like a set. And somebody said values. All right, let's see what it'll print. I think it's none, but let's see. Yeah, see? So it's actually printing keys. That is the right answer. So now understand one thing, guys, and I think I've talked about this before, but anything in dictionary, values are really dummy stuff. It is really what you want to give, right? So anything you want to play around with values, it would make much more sense if you actually worked around keys, because keys, if you use a key, it will give you a value, right? As we have seen it. So always remember, I think 99%, in fact, I haven't seen one, but other than dict.values, 99% of functions or 99% of things around dictionary would always be around keys. So even if you had to, like, of course, I didn't expect any of you to know this answer, but if you ever take what you say, a guess, right? Then try to think more on the keys format. That's why I like the set answer too. But anyways, so now you know what are we getting if we variable around a dictionary. Now, can you think about something else? How we can print just 45 or just Boston or just the John, or basically anything to make it a little more better? So, okay, do you guys remember there was...
Can we use square brackets and print?
Yeah, that I already said it. That will just be like printing the exact value from the key. That won't work. So, if I do you remember, does anybody
Python will
remember the
print all
items?
the keys and values.
Exactly. That's a good one. So do you think with something with that we can do so that we can print exact value? Okay, forget about printing just 45 or John. All I want is, so far I have only name, age, and city, right? Now I want the values as well to be printed out on my CLI without using the person, basically without using the dictionary way. So you're right, items will give you what? It will give you both key and
Yeah.
value. So that is simple. So what can we do now? Nobody's asking us to just stop using, I mean, to stop using for more than one variable. So I'm just going to manage key and value, and I'm going to say person items print k comma p. Do you guys think this will be an error, or do you guys think this will work? Of course, it's a guess from you guys. You don't know what is in the been hearing. So let's see happening. But from whatever you see, if you mention the Boston, because you're not getting in separately name as well as, I mean, the key as well as its value, right? You can do anything with it. If you look at it, let's say I want to just for the heck of it, I want to do something like this. See, now you're putting, but can you do something like this with just the dictionary element? No. So that is how you can access individual element. Now that element could be key and value, the whole pair, or you can just have the keys, or you can just have the values. So similarly, just this to values and remove the, sorry, where was it here? Not this example. So if I would have done this, then you could have just, anyways, we don't need keys because we saw if we don't even give keys, we already got the keys, right? So by default, if you don't even give keys, if you run an iteration variable to a dictionary, you are going to get the keys as the output. So that is the first concept about running for loop in dictionary. So remember that, guys. Second concept, if you want to just print the values or just print any value, you can always put that under an if condition in the for loop. You can always give the iteration to be over values. And if there's ever a need where you want to print both key and value in any fashion you want, or you want to use them, then you can use two variables in the same for loop, one for key and one for value, and then do person dot items. Because remember, we saw all these things, right? Person dot items means key and value, person dot keys means just the keys, and I mean dictionary dot values means just the values. So that is how you access individual element of a for loop, sorry, of a dictionary using a for loop. And like I said, you can use it for variables, sorry, values, or just for the keys, or for both, or any combination that you want to do with them. So is that clear? Any questions on that? All right, sounds good. Let me put all of this in comment. So now, do you guys think I can do something like, so from now, for now, I think we're almost finished. So it'll be more like question and answer till we finish today's session, so that you understand everything. So do you think this will work?
Integer is not subscriptable.
Subscriptable, okay, that's a good idea. So, well, that is a correct statement, but I was expecting the answer to be in this format. Is it? So that's
But basically, yes, we did not define, right?
why this should give you an error.
Yeah,
There you
yes.
go. Int object is terrible. I'm just no. I was giving integer here. So integer is not a sequence word. So even if I do this, it may look like a sequence, but it still remains the same thing. But what do you think about it? So this we know, right? Will this work? Take a guess if you don't know the answer.
Why
Nobody?
should it be any different?
You tell me.
Oh, it's
I still error, right?
Yeah. So what about now? Do you think this will work?
and now it's a
Yes, it should.
tuple with
Because
one element. So it will print
What
it
should be
once.
my
It should be error, right? But it still,
Hmm?
I guess it should be error, right?
So okay, help me. Let me help you guys. It can only be either error or 5. So you have to tell me what is the output. Either error or 5. There can't be anything else. Simple example, right?
So if it can't be anything else, then it should be error.
should be error, yeah.
Okay. What were you thinking? It can be anything else. I'm very interested to know.
0.
Okay, so 0 is also. Let's put it on the table. Anybody else? Okay, let's run ahead and see. So I don't know why you were thinking about 0, but all I could think was just error and 5. So it is not an error because, like you guys said, it is a tuple. So the syntax wise, it's fine. So when the syntax is fine, you do not expect any error. And I think I had discussed this in detail about packing and unpacking of tuples. So what you're doing here is basically you're unpacking the tuple and putting it into number. All it is doing is it happens to be only one element, and you're actually printing that one element. That's how you're getting the number 5. So, like I said, I don't think of any other output. So this is also sometimes asked in interview questions. People think it's an error, but it is not. So always remember this, guys. And if you have any confusion, go back to the class where we discussed about tuple packing and unpacking. Then you'll understand this concept very well. But if you forget it, also just remember a single element with these brackets with a comma. That's why I used the earlier example with this one, not this one. This is not a tuple, but anything like this is a tuple with one element. So just always remember that. Excuse me. All right. So we have seen a couple of other stuff, and I think I also did not. I don't remember if I asked you guys this or not, but we have seen how do we define empty dictionary, right? So it's an assignment, or you can say it's an ask for you guys that how do we define an empty set? Think about it and let me know if there's a way to do it. We all remember how we define an empty dictionary like this, right? So all I'm asking is how do we do an empty set? I should have asked you guys in that task only. All right. So that taken care of. I don't think so. We had much left in that. Okay. So let me ask you guys another question. So char in, let's say, let's use Python. Okay. And I'm saying if my character is not equal to, let's say H, or let's say O. Okay. So I'm giving an if condition within a for loop now, like we saw. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. So what I'm saying is print char, and let's do this. So what do you guys think will be my output in this example?
You're saying that if it is not equal to 0, it should break. So the very first.
O, not 0. Sorry, it's O.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Yeah,
not 0.
sorry. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So
So O
the
is
very
here.
first.
Yeah.
Right. But
Mm-hmm.
when the for loop will start, it will first check for P, which is not
Mm-hmm.
equal to O, and it should
Mm-hmm.
break there itself.
Okay, so no output basically. No error, nothing.
No, nothing.
Okay. No error, no output. Anybody else who thinks it will be different?
No, but it will print P, yeah. Right. So it will still
Exactly.
print. Yeah, it will still print
Exactly.
P
You were
because
saying the right thing, but you missed the
yeah,
point. This is how people get confused. So you're exactly right. So is there anybody who doesn't understand why this P came and why did not my PYTH came? Because actually I was trying to print that anything before O should be printed. So let me ask it again. Is there anybody who did not understand this output of P? All right. You just saved me
Yeah,
hassle
I
now, guys. Yeah,
understand
go ahead.
first.
So Fahim,
Okay.
yeah, it's okay. So Fahim, what is happening is Python is like we know, right? How it is saved. Now I'm checking in my next line. So you were on the first class of for loop, right? You know how for loops works. So char is first going to be pointing at P, then it will be pointing to Y, then it will be pointing to T, right? So now with the first loop starts, the first time it is pointing to P. So now what am I checking? If char not equal to 0, which is true, right? Because P is not equal to 0. Then all I'm saying is print that character. So that's how I'm printing P. Now closely look, what is the next statement? And this is a part of this if statement. I'm saying break. What does break do? We discussed in the break statement. It breaks the for loop and comes out of the for loop. That's why it doesn't do any checking here. And it just breaks. If you want, I can again show it to you like this. For loop exited. So if there was no break, okay, let's say there was no break, then what will happen? You tell me, fine.
Then it will print a complete sentence except 0. O.
Oh, okay. Yes, that's a good idea. See, PYTHN, no O, and also it is printing this for loop. Now so my point was this for loop was printed once it finished the whole iteration. See, it went all the way till the last character, which is N. Just because of this statement, it did not print O. That's all. So what is happening now? The moment I remove this, pay close attention to this one. See P, and then it exited right away, just at P, and it is printing this. So that is what break does. The moment you hit break, or the moment you hit any condition above break, you break the for loop and you get out of it. So I don't know if you were there in the last class. We discussed break, pass, and continue, but take a look at those if you're still confused. These
I
are very
was
important, guys.
in the break when you were discussing the break, but I missed the main for loop class. That's the only
Oh, okay.
that's the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah. Yes, I'll give you a 2-minute brief. It's not really going to take a lot of time because you need to understand for loop before we go ahead. So I'll give you very quick. Sorry, guys, just 2 minutes. Fahim has been very patient with us, so let's do that for him. P Y P H O N N. Okay. So how for loop works is the moment it's an iteration loop, right? So basically iteration means we're going element by element of whatever this is. This could be a list. This basically it has to be a sequence, or it could be a string. Strings are a form of sequence, right? It's similarly a tuple or whatever you want to call it. Just make sure it is a sequence. We saw it doesn't work in integers because integer is not a sequence. So how it works is first time, whatever this variable you give, this can be anything. This can be even Fahim. This is just a variable name. So all I'm saying is the first time when it starts, your char or your char is pointing to the very first element of your string or of your sequence. Here it happens to be string. So and what happens is when you first do this, then whatever statements follow below, they get executed. And when all these are executed, now how can you tell me that these all belong to for loop? Remember we spoke about this indentation. So all this is a block for loop, this for loop, because remember this print is starting again from here. You seeing this? So this print is not a part of the for loop, but all this is a part of for loop. So now basically what we're saying is when all these finish, let me first remove the break, otherwise you'll get confused. Forget about the break for now. So what it means is that both these statements are a part of these for loop. Now, when the first time the for loop starts, it always starts from the first location by default. So now char is pointing at P. What am I saying? So my first condition is if char is not equal to 0. That is correct, right? Char is not equal to 0 because my char is pointing at P right now, and P is not equal to O, not 0. So all I'm saying is print character. That is, print the value here, which means you get P, right? And then you hit the end of for loop. There is nothing after that. So when you hit the end of for loop, you go back here and you increment this. What it means is you start pointing to the next location. So now what am I pointing to? I'm pointing to Y. So again, it goes back here. Again, it checks if char is not equal to 0. Is Y not equal to O? That is true, right? So again, it prints that character as Y. Again, the same thing. It goes to the next location. Now, what is the character there? That is T. So is T not equal to 0? That is a true statement. So again, print character T, right? Then what you do, again, point to the next one. Now we are pointing to H. So again, the same thing. Is H not equal to O? That is a true statement. So when it is true, the following the if condition would be executed. So you get PYTH. Now pay close attention. Next one is pointing to O, right? Now when it is pointing to O, this condition becomes false, right? Because O is equal to O. So then when it becomes false, it is not going to print this. So basically we are skipping that because there's nothing after or there's no else here. So again, it goes back here and increments the loop. Now it goes to N. Again, the same condition is matched. If N is not equal to O, which is true, then you're printing characters. So except for
So it will
O,
print nothing
everything got
during
printed.
when it's
Yes.
0. When
Come
it's
again?
O, it will print nothing, right?
Just for that, yes. That's why what we got was P Y T H N, and I cleared everything so that I can show it to you. And of course, this will also be coming, but forget about it for now. So let's see. See, P Y T H N, except for O, everything is getting printed.
So
So
during
the
the time
main,
of the O, it exited the loop, right? Then went back to the N again, right?
correct. So because it has, so what happens is why it didn't exited the loop, but what had happened, it skipped it for that because this condition got false. When it becomes false, you don't execute anything here, but you go to the next statement. Is there a next statement here? No, right? What is the next statement? Essentially, basically increase the loop and go back here. So that's how we got the N after the O. And after N, there was nothing. So basically, that is when you exit the for loop, when your iteration comes to the end of the sequence or a string or whatever you're putting it here.
Yes.
Correct? So that's how for loops work. All right, perfect. Yeah.
Hello.
Your voice is
Ankit,
very
can you
low.
hear me?
Sunil. Yeah, now
Hello.
it's better. Yeah, now it's better.
Okay. Ankit, I have a question. I'm not really sure if it may sound a little funny, but then
No, it's
I
okay.
was thinking about something. Let's say
Mhm,
right now we're talking about Python. Python is one word wherein we are treating as a string, and in a
mhm.
for loop, it goes word by word, right?
Right.
Now, what we were going to write, that's what my question was.
That's what your
Now,
question is, right?
let's say there is,
Yeah,
yeah, now let's say that this is the complete statement. We are again
correct,
treating it as a string, right?
correct, correct,
My understanding is for loop will still you go by one word like Python. But then
correct.
what if I'd like to, use Python as one identity and then is an easy as in one identity to check. I mean, as in complete word, as in Python. Is it possible?
It is possible. So remember we discussed about this in the strings class, how we
Okay,
get the whole word.
okay.
So let's go back to
Um,
that and let's see if we can figure it out.
okay.
But that's an interesting one. I thought you were going to ask something else, but that is an interesting one. So there are actually two ways to accomplish your problem, whatever problem you just described. One is exactly what you said, that you compare word by word. There's another way you
Right.
can do it where you can just do it using the space character. That I think is an easier approach, right? Because if you're saying word, the word ends with a space, right? I mean, in
Right.
this problem example, I'm just talking about this example right now.
Right. Right.
So using that logic and using that in the if condition, I think you can come up with with solution for what you're asking. Try it out. If you don't, then I'll show you how it can be done. But it's a good question.
Okay. Yeah.
So again, like I said, there are always multiple ways, right? So one way is to just use it by word, but to be to beat that or make it a smarter way, you can use something like that kind of a logic.
Right.
Similarly, then making it worse, you can say
So
something like, putting special characters. Now this will completely change it. So you have to think about that also. But I mean, first let's work on the basic example. Yeah, somebody else has a question?
yeah, Ankit, for loop, right? So now if we execute this, the entire except O, everything will be printing, right? So in that spaces also comes. Okay,
Well, I
space also
don't.
comes. Okay, that is one question.
No. Yeah, it is. So it is printing the space also.
It is come.
Because
So
space is
that is one
considered
thing.
as a
Second
character.
thing, suppose
Mhm.
okay, if I want till n only means till n only I want to print, not easy.
N only. So yeah, your if condition has to be changed. Whatever problem statement it is, you have to decide and you have to put the condition. So you're saying if A, what you can do is there's one way which is very simple. And so you want only till N and no O, right? So actually you won't be able to print O either and N either.
Means we have to see that all bits are.
No. I know what you're saying.
So
Or
I is
if
equal to.
char is not equal to N. But the problem with that is you won't be able to print O, but you won't be able to print N also. And I know what you want. You want T by T H N. This is what you want, right? You don't want
Yeah.
all of this. That is a
O
problem.
also, O also.
Oh, you want O also. So you just
Yeah,
want
yeah,
Python basically in the whole sentence.
yeah.
That should be easy.
No. Till
Sorry, till where?
n. Okay, you tell Python, that's it. It's
Yeah,
better.
you
Let's
want
take a
Python,
Python.
right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Space.
I don't know. I'm also trying now. Let's see. No. If this is not equal to space, can you continue?
We're looking to get an output as Python, right? So it
Yeah.
should be equal to, if we say if char is equals to space.
Go ahead. Yeah, there could be multiple ways.
Yeah. Maybe we
But
can try that.
Yeah. What was yours, Sunil? We
No,
can
I was
try.
thinking if we say that if char is equals to space, then it will ensure that it will go till space, and then we could break it. So,
Correct.
and before that we could print everything.
Exactly. I'm doing the right opposite of it. What you're saying.
Yeah.
But in another way. So
Yeah.
I'm saying go till space and print it and then break. Let's see if this works. There you go. Python. So again, it depends on your problem statement. Again, this can still be shortened. I mean, I'll have to think about it, but this can easily be shortened. So who has a question? Ravi, right? So Ravi, you have to think of ways depending on your problem statement. There are always more than one solution to the same problem. But you got the idea, right?
Yeah, Ankit, now you use space, okay. But if I go with I means I want to print I also means. So the problem statement.
Like this?
Okay.
No, I was asking
No,
if
I'm not telling Python. After that, right now you're kept a space, right? So Python is
Yeah.
printed because you
Right.
put char is equal to not equal to space. Suppose if I want I there after Python, then or if condition will entirely be changed.
Input is there.
Correct. Exactly. There you go.
Okay, but if S is not there, you're saying, but in Python, so for example, S is there means at that time, it is not right.
Yes. Then we'll have to. I know what you're saying now.
Suppose
So
in Python,
basically, yeah, you're saying this. So it won't work. Yes.
yeah,
This will only print Python.
yeah.
Then we'll have to think about something else
So we
from the
should
strings class.
find.
So remember we discussed, I think it was count or it was one inbuilt function in string which tells you all the occurrences. So that we'll have to put here. Again,
Okay,
it all depends on your
so
problem statement.
if
Okay.
okay. So if I'm telling like in C, generally we use the for loop initialization and then we compare, then we put like, so it is not like here. So just to suppose I want to take that Python easy in a input function, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So at that time for I is x is equal to like that we can write, right? Now you are taking
So
this Python is easier in a normal.
it is still the same thing, to be honest with you, when you talk about C. Yes, but you're right. C would not allow something like this because you need to first give this in a variable. Because that is again to the very first lecture we did, right? It is a strongly typed language. It wants to know, and it's a compiler based, right? So it wants to know what you're going to use in here. But if you look at Python, it doesn't even know. You can change this to a list also, right? It will still work. The same code will work. The thing that is the beauty of Python, you don't have to worry about the typing of the parameters or the variable. So that's but the internal concept is still the same, what you said. So it will still be initialized. So char what you're talking about initialization. So char when you do this, right? For char, it internally means for char equal to 0. What you're talking about C, right? In C you do like that for I is equal to 0, I is equal to I plus 1, and then go from there and you give a variable name. So internally, it is still doing the same thing. This will be stored into, temporary memory. The whole thing, Python is easy. It will be stored in a temporary memory, just like you store it in C using a variable name. Here, there won't be a variable name, but it will still be using the same memory. And the moment this is done, this memory is cleaned up. So that's why Python is a little better than C thing. But internally, of course, it is happening the same way. There is no other way you can do it. Does it make sense? Ravi? Ravi, talking on mute. You got the answer or no?
Sorry, yeah, I got it. I was in mute.
Okay,
Sorry.
perfect. No, it's fine. I like such questions
Uh,
because I also, when I was
also, we don't
learning,
have direct, I mean, anything we can print only easy. We have
sorry,
to,
come again. You're saying we can only print easy.
yeah.
No, there has to be something. We'll have to just play around with the if
Okay.
conditions. We'll have to
Okay.
think and we'll have to wait. So it's a good idea. Let's all work towards it. I like your questions, Anand. Let me put this as a task for now, and if nobody can do it, I'll do this one. Task 5.
Okay.
Print. I think this is what you're saying, right? Print only easy,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Let's do this. I'm gonna put this in here. This one even I'm gonna do. So all of you guys will be doing both of these assignments and we'll see. It should be doable, of course. We'll just have to play around if statements and see what is the best way to do it. So one simple way is you can obviously keep adding if and elif and all, but I don't want to do it that way. I want to do it in a smaller way. So I'll work on that. You guys work on the lengthy way and then we'll see.
Sure.
All right. But of course, doable. That's a good one. Excuse me. So now we're pretty much in towards the loop. So let me go ahead and finish the most important thing, which is while loop. So first of all, why do we need while loop, or rather, what is the main difference between for loop and while loop? Anyways, it's loop, right? It's doing the same thing, but there is a very subtle difference, and that subtle difference can make your project go from 100 to 0. So let me give you first an example of what I'm talking about. So I'm just using a variable called count equal to 0, okay? And while my count is less than 4, print count. So do you guys think this should be an error or this should work, or what is it? What do you guys think about it from your knowledge so far? So again, while is doing it the same way in for, while it will start from the value, whatever you have given. So we've given 0, and then it will compare the statement. If it is true, then it will print this. And once the loop is finished, it will go to the statement after that.
You need an increment, otherwise it will continue forever, right? 0, 0, 0, 0.
So you're saying basically 0 to infinite.
Yeah,
Correct?
or
Zero
all
printed
the
in
time,
infinite loop. Yeah.
unless you have an increment.
Exactly. So this is very important concept, guys. I think that was on here. That was a great answer. So that is the main difference. And like I said, this is only a subtle difference. Let's see actually what happens. What he said is absolutely right. See, it's not stopping. See, see, it's actually run into an infinite loop. So always remember, guys, you should, this is like a pro tip, you should always avoid while in your real coding. This is only good for interview questions. Reason being, if you mess up such a small thing, right? All you wanted to do was wanted to print 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 0, 1, 2, 3 in this example. But look at it, look at the power of it. You've actually run into an infinite loop. And this is a small piece of code. You can fix it or you can find it easily. But when you have things like this in the lists and big data structures in a big program, it will take you days to even figure out where did you do wrong. So my suggestion or my recommendation is you can do actually everything with for and if, what you can do in while. But if you're actually using a while loop, make sure you first take that piece of code and run it locally in your IDE or somewhere else, and then try to do it. So this is the problem here, and the reason it happened was because similar to while loop, it automatically goes back here. But the difference in for and here is it doesn't increment the pointer or the variable. So you have to specifically give count is equal to count plus 1. This is the only difference, guys. But this difference you saw made the hell out of it. See, now we are getting 0, 1, 2, 3. And we got the while loop is ending. So always remember the while loop can be of help. Of course, it is faster, but you have to be very, very smart enough to use it. Otherwise, you will make the whole program. Again, I'm saying the whole program can come down. And I've seen this in practice. That's why I'm telling you from my own experience. Don't use this unless you're absolutely sure about it. Just see, just adding one line, it stopped the infinite loop because you forgot that just like for, like remember, like in for loop, we didn't have to increment the variable. It automatically goes to the next location, but that doesn't happen in while loop. Rest, everything is same. Just remember this about while loops, that while it will not work without incrementing the iteration variable, it won't automatically go to the next statement or the next memory location. Is that clear to everybody?
Yes, Ankit.
So, okay. Let me ask you a quick question. Can I change this to anything else other than an integer? So what I'm saying is list x equal to, let me just take a basic example. Okay. Now I'm saying while count is less than list x, or sorry, I did the other way. List x is less than 4. Let me, so okay, print list x. So all I'm trying to do is print all the elements of my list which are less than 4. Do you think this will work? I'm gonna put this in comment. No answer?
I mean,
No,
so
Okay.
you mentioned that it don't increment automatically.
Right.
If that is the case with list,
no, it will not print.
it will
Okay.
not really.
So, Sunny, you went step 2. I'm saying even is this correct? Concentrate on this one here. But you're right. I mean, if this
No,
was a regular one, we are not incrementing it. That's true. But basic flaw is right here because what is it? What are we comparing actually? We're comparing a sequence with a single integer, right? Let's see
Yeah.
what error you get. Python should be able to tell you something smart. Even I don't remember. See, not supported in instances of list and int. So first of all,
Okay.
this statement itself is wrong. So it won't even get here, right? So we won't even come to that problem. So now what I can do? Okay. So it's saying basically I cannot do this. So where is my fourth element? 0, 1, 2, 3. Do you think this should work now?
Should. Yes.
Okay.
Because now
1%
we are
says
comparing just one.
exactly. Okay. Anybody else thinks it should work? It should not work. Is there anybody who thinks?
It should work.
Okay. I don't think so it'll work, but let's see. Okay, so what happened? No output, even though I had a print statement here.
So
So what is
basically,
the
we
list
said
X of
it.
ready? Mm-hmm.
We said, as per the location, we said 3, right? So 0,
Correct.
1, 2, 3. So 4 is equals to 4. But we said if,
Exactly.
less than
Exactly.
4, then only it should print.
So this should work now.
Condition is false, then you
Should.
just exit, right?
Yes.
You do.
Right. Right. You're saying the same thing like what Sunil said on that basically the condition was getting false. Okay, so now this should work, right?
Yes.
Let's see. Okay. So it is working, but what is this output? Can anybody explain me? Okay, now we ran into what Sunil said. So because we did not do a increment, so it was running into a while loop. But even let's say, okay, for now, let it be. Let it run in for the loop. But can somebody explain me the output?
It's printing the list X.
Why? We gave a specific condition, right? What are we checking?
If 3 is less than 4.
Exactly. And what is happening?
It's going to keep checking that condition and it's going to keep printing.
Exactly.
list
And we are
X.
printing the whole list. So
List
it's the
X.
similar thing here. This is actually an interview question. They don't ask these. This is straightforward, right? These days. So they actually ask this question these days. So basically, you're doing if you look at this is doing nothing anything new than this. Just we have introduced list here. That's all. That's why we are seeing this list going on and on and on. So the point that I'm trying to make here is you should not be using list or tuples or anything like that with while loop. Otherwise, it will not work. But what you wanted to do, there is a way to do it. Of course, there's always a way to do everything. But the point is, don't use while and with lists, tuples, and all those things. Use it for basic conditions, like something very simple like this. And like I said in the beginning, my recommendation is don't use it at all, but it's up to you. So what we wanted to do, how we can do it is very simple. We can always use a for loop. So we can use a for and a while, but it's not a great idea. And I think the other day, Hon was asking about order of complexity. So the for with while loop is actually a very, very heavy code. So you should never use it until it's absolutely necessary. So instead of that, always use for and if. That way, performance is better. Performance is another thing we won't be discussing in this course, but it's more like the performance of your code is much better when you use for and if instead of for and while. That's why you see me writing all the conditions mostly with for loop. We have hardly seen anything with while loop. You can still do it. It's not like you cannot do it. Anything is possible. But the best performance-wise code is always achieved using for and if condition. And while is mainly for, like I said, the sequence of objects. It can still be applied on sequence of objects like we saw, right? We just saw, but it is most useful when we put it on a sequence of objects where either you're trying to print one by one or something like that. Here you're trying to print the whole list itself or the more than one elements. So that's why while is not best suited for list and tuple. Just remember that. Rest, everything, whatever we learned applies to while. So I'm not going to give more examples because they're all the same thing. These are a couple weird things about while loop. So just remember them. And they sometimes even ask an interview a bit of these. So I think
But
we're pretty
even
much
Ankit,
finished
even
with
for
it.
this result, Ankit, even for this result, so
Mhm.
we are comparing 3 less than 4. Okay, but for
Yeah.
still printing 4 also, right?
Yeah, exactly. You're not getting the right output also. Very valid point because you're printing the whole list, just like you did here, right? So that's why when you're printing the whole list, you're basically printing 1, 2, 3, 4 completely. Like I said, you can achieve the desired output. What was the problem statement was that you wanted to print all the elements of a list which are less than 4, right, in value. You can achieve it even with while loop and if condition in it, but that's a very heavy code in terms of performance. So you don't want to use it. Rather, just simply use a for loop. So for loop, it's very easy, right? For iteration starting from list X. I mean, for iteration in list X, and put a condition if iteration is equal to 4, break. Simple, and print otherwise. So you got the answer. But in while loop, and you can do it in a while loop also, it's not like you cannot do it. But the reason we saw it is not very good with tuples or list or any sequence of elements which are grouped by together. But if you keep them as different objects, so again, this is a class and object concept, we'll talk about it. But anyways, for now, just think it as, so this is a different object, right? Single object. Yeah. But here, the same object in the while condition is basically a sequence of values. So it doesn't work very great with those. But yeah, you're right. The reason we're printing the whole thing is because we're printing the whole list.
Thank you, Ankit.
Sure. Yeah, like I said, when I was reading about it, right, it's so confusing. I just made my own golden rule that, I'm never going to use while loop, because again, you can do everything that you can do in a while loop. You can use it with for loop. Only one use case I've seen which is good with while loop is especially when you're running a script or something like that, because I do a lot of automation also. That's where you want to use while loop when you are not absolutely sure about the result. So you really want to make sure that at least your script is run once, because remember your condition is checked later. So that ways it's much better to use a while loop. But again, like I said, you have to do a lot of due diligence, and then only you should venture into while loop. Otherwise, while loop more than helpful, it is more detrimental for your project. All right, so we've done actually we've done nested for, but I wanted to take one more example before we finish it. So what do you guys think? We will 1,5. And like I said in my initial class, I am going to take I and J, but you should never take in real example, because this is very bad coding practice. So let me just print I. Can anybody tell me what will be my output? Take a minute. I don't want you to jump on it. Okay, let's do it another way. Let me run it, and can somebody explain me what is happening? This will make it easy now.
I can try if you want.
Good.
Okay, so we are starting with for loop by stating that we have a range to run on, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So starting from 1, really. Now, yeah, I mean till 4,
Okay.
not 5 included, because we're talking about range, so till 4. So
Exactly. Stop
we
minus
start
1.
with,
Yep.
yes, so we start with first, which is 1. So I the 1 is assigned to I, and then we start another loop stating that for J in range I. So I is what? 1, right? So J is assigned as in 1 itself, and then we print I. So it's like 1.
Okay.
Right?
That's how you
And
get
then
the first element.
First element, right? And then it will it starts. I mean, it move ahead, and I is assigned as 2, and then we get into a second loop wherein the J is again we're talking about range, right? So it will have the range, complete range, as in probably 1 and 2 both.
Okay. But why don't
And
I
then
see 1 here then?
no, I'm saying that till J, but we are still printing I only. So I was assigned as a 2.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, go ahead, finish it. Yeah, I think yeah.
Okay.
So this is how you got the first.
Yes. So now we are still inside the second loop. Now we have another value. Now J is assigned to 2 because we are following the loop till 1 and 2. So, but we are still asking to use I, which is again assigned it on the top as in 2. So that's why it is coming in 2. Similar way, it will continue further.
Correct. Exactly. That's the right answer. Did everybody follow Sunil, or was it anybody who did not understand it? Great job, Sunil.
Thanks, Ankit.
Yeah, like Ankit, like the way you explained the last week, right? The nested loop we taken advantage of the I in outer loop. So that will be printing. So by coming back to the IE, I will be the same value.
Correct.
So I understood even Sunil what they explained.
Great. So believe me, guys, this took me at least half an hour to explain in my last batch. I'm so happy and proud about you guys. Anybody who did not understand it, it's fine because it's not an easy one. Like Sunil made it very simple, but yes, that is the right answer. But is there anybody who did not understand it? Awesome. That's really awesome. You guys should pat your backs because this is one of the questions on HackerRank which you do not get it as a basic question. Once you do, I think I spoke about HackerRank.
Ankit,
Yeah, Ravi, go ahead.
yeah, Ankit, can you please explain once?
Sure. I'll just finish it and I'll explain it. So I was saying, I think I spoke to you guys about hacker length and all those things, right? In the first class, some of you might not be there. These are your websites, which if you want to prepare for companies like Amazon or something big, big fives and all, then you should be starting to practice on hacker length and all those. I gave a list of those websites earlier. So the benefit of that is you basically showcase your skills. And this is not an easy question on hacker length when you start using for loops. This is an intermediary to advanced level. So I'm very happy you were able to at least give it a shot and you were actually right. So Ravi, what he's saying is, or what the real explanation is, remember I showed you guys like this, something. Let me take it one more time and let's finish it off. So let me make it easier for your understanding first, because otherwise it will be a lot lengthy. Let's just do 3, okay? And let me explain you this. It is the same concept there also with 5. So when I have 3, so this you understand, right, Ravi? What does this mean? Range. You start from 1 and then you go to the stop value, which is the next value. So let me just make it simpler. Let me make it 4 to make it a little bit interesting.
Range will be up to 4, not including the 4.
Exactly. So that will be 1, 2, 3, right? Not the 4. Forget about this one. This won't be there. So this is your I. This you understood, right? You just answered. Now, what I'm doing is for I in range 1 to 4, what is happening? So my I is here right now, correct? It is initialized to the first element, which is 0, or the value is 1. So I's value is 1 at this moment. Just for a second, just follow along, okay? Now I'm saying I'm bringing a second loop. So what will be my J's value here? This is my J. J is saying start from range of I. Range of I means what? You tell me, Ravi. That you start from I and you stop at I minus 1, correct? Does it mean this? Ravi.
Yeah,
so remember,
yeah.
No, it doesn't start with I. That's why I confused you. If you don't give the start value, it is always taken as 0. And if you give only one value, which we talked in range, it is always the stop value. And we always go one less of the stop value. That is why you're getting confused in this example. So that is the first thing that you have to remember, that J is always going to start from 0 and go to I minus 1. This is what this statement means, the range of I. So now when my I is equal to 1, what will be my J? Apply this logic and tell me. So my J would only be pointing to, because it's starting from 0 and I minus 1 is what? 0 only. So there's only one element. So first iteration, there is no second element, correct? So my J is pointing to here.
Okay.
There is no value in J here, right? All it holds is and I minus 1.
Okay.
Right? So forget about this, the value.
Yeah.
But look at my print statement. What am I printing? I'm printing the value of I. So what is my value of I? 1. That's how you get this 1. Okay, simple. Now what will happen? J will go here. Is there anything? No, because J was only going from 0 to 0, right? In the first iteration. So this loop will break now.
Yeah.
When this loop breaks, what happens? The original or the bigger loop goes to the next one. So now I is moved to 2, or the second location, which holds value 2. Now again the for loop is reinitialized. So this time it will go from, this is what he was saying, 1, 2. Basically this and this value, or 0, 1, you can say in terms of memory. So again, j is pointing to 0. Okay. And what are we saying again? Print I. What is my I? I is not 1. I is already moved to 2. Value of I. That's how you got this first 2. And then you do what? You iterate, you increase j. So now j is pointing to here. This time it has a value, right? Because I has 2 values, 0 and 1. Right? So what are we, but again, we are asking
Yeah.
to print I only. So I value hasn't changed. J has moved to the next one, but I value hasn't changed. So that's how you get the next 2. Now what happens? J moves to the next one. There is nothing. So J's loop is finished. It goes back to I. Now I moves to this location, which has value of 3. All right. Now J gets again reinitialized and J will iterate to all these 3 elements. So now I'm going to put this. So now what will happen? Again, we are printing I. So the first time when we print I is again 3, second time again 3, third time again 3, then it goes to fourth value, nothing. So it goes back to I. Is there anything here? Nothing. So now I and J both stop, and that's how you get this output. The reason you were confused were with 2 things.
Okay.
One, it had print of I here and not I comma J or J or something like that. That's why you're getting confused. And second, you forgot that it starts from 0. If you do not print, if you do not give the start value. Always remember, guys, if you give a start value, then only it's going to start with that value. Otherwise, it will always start with 0. If you don't give any value, it always expect 1 value. That is the reason, range. And that is always stop minus 1. Just remember that. So now apply the same logic for my original example and you'll get the same answer. So now you're doing the same thing for 4 times. So this is, like I was saying, this is not really the HackerRank question. Let me just make it a little bit more better and you will understand. But this was the main concept. So end, you might ask, I don't think so we have discussed in this batch. So it's very simple. It's basically a keyword used in Python, which basically tells that whenever your output stops, just stop here and add this to it. That's all it says. So all I'm adding is nothing but a space. So let's see, does it make any difference? So now I'm saying in the end, we're combining everything. Let me make one more statement and then you'll understand.
But Ankit, we can also say like the I, it's referring the index of J is referring the index of I and I is referring for the range value.
That is correct. That's why I remember when I was making the second one here for J did not have any values except for I.
Right.
I's
Yeah.
location. J in this example doesn't hold any value. You're right. All it holds is it holds a reference to I basically. And
Got it.
I actually has the value.
Yes.
J doesn't have the value in this example.
Got it.
But you're right. Yeah. Let's see. So this is actually a HackerRank and interview question. How do you print a triangle using? So this is your, what is it? What triangle is this called? The 90-degree one? I forgot the name.
Right
Already
angle.
in geometry. Yeah, right angle, but there's a name for it, right?
Right angle. Right angle.
So the hypotenuse now, whatever the triangle is. Yeah, the right
Is-
angle, 90-degree angle, but I forgot the name of the triangle. Anyways, that's how they pose the question.
Algorithm.
Hypothesis is, I think, different one. But yeah, something like similar. You got
No,
the idea that
Pythagoras
is the
theorem.
name of it.
It was in 10th standard. I still, I don't remember exactly.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. But anyways, they wanted you to print using, so I think the question was like you have to print using the numbers and the number should be increasing. So it's not like 1, 1, 1, not like this. This is also a question, but the HackerRank made it tough by making it. So this is very easy actually, if you try this. And when I read about it, I was thinking so hard, how do I get this 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4 to print? Because every time, otherwise what you will print 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. All these are easy. 1, 2, 3, 4. But the only thing that you have to do was just keep printing I every time. That's all was needed here. But anyways, so this is the actual question. So what am I doing here is, it's very simple, guys. All I'm doing is I'm clubbing in using the end. I'm clubbing the output for every iteration together. Okay. And this print statement is doing nothing, but whenever the J loop finishes, it puts a enter or a new line basically. like I showed you earlier, right? If I remove this, everything would be in single line. See, that's what end is doing. That you're combining everything into one. It doesn't mean that this is happening for every loop. It is still the same thing. When the first loop happens, only one is printed. But because of end equal to this, we are not going into the new line, which we were doing earlier. But now my requirement was to combine the basic, to basically combine my for loop output in one, but still have an enter in the I output. So that's how I'm getting this now. 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. And so see, such a simple example. I wrote like 20 lines and still I was not getting it when I first tried it. So I had it in my notes that this is a good example. So I'm very glad you guys could figure out the answer and it was not as difficult as it. And the only thing I want you to remember about end is, okay, let me actually first, do you think this will work? It didn't work. Okay. I think I shouldn't have done that. On. Yeah. So basically end always takes double quotes. So see, it still works. You can do all the beautification, whatever you want to do. But what I'm trying to say is, will this work? Should it print 12 after it? No. So remember this line, guys. Learn it or whatever you want to say. End always gets only two values, either a string or a none. So essentially it means basically just a string. So it always has to be a string here. It can be anything, like we already discussed, string inside is nothing, we don't care about it. And that's how you're going to do your beautification or whatever you want to do. So that's the benefit of end. If you don't do anything, you just basically, what did I do? You're just basically combining into one. That's all. See. So end is just a format specifier which can either have a value as none or string. All right, so I think that was just one example for nested that I wanted to discuss, and I think we're pretty much done with for, if, range, and all those conditional stuff. We're done with basic data structures. Everything is done, and I think now we have to start with the most important concept, which is functions. So guys, just a quick thing. I see 11 people right now, but in the beginning it was only Tushar and me and then Sunil, and we created for a long time. So if you guys want this to continue, if you guys really find a value add in this, then you have to show up on time, please, every day, or at least let me know if there's any problem. Then I shouldn't be wasting my time, and even these people who join every day. Because I was talking to them in the beginning, if this is going to continue, I'll stop this because my time is also very important. And then I have another plan, and I'll just put some of you guys there. But that would be a paid one for others. But I cannot have everybody just come in and join anytime. And we have to have some discipline. My time is also important, as is your time. If you cannot for some day, that's fine. You can probably ping it or something like that. If I were you, I would have the basic courtesy and ping it in the group that, hey, I cannot join today or something. But going forward,
Yeah, I think, sorry, Ankit, I think I'll be joining daily, but today I joined a bit late because I have another call. So